Time for another riveting edition of the Red, Gold, and Bold. Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. I'm Soren Petro with you from Sports Radio 810 WHB. We're doing our over and unders on the offense. We're going to be taking a look at some of the key statistics going into this year, and we're going to determine whether the Chiefs will go over or under. Patrick Mahomes starts, passing yards, passing touchdowns, Travis Kelce yards, Kenneth Walker rushing yardage, explosive runs, something the Chiefs didn't have much of last year. First down pass percentage, are they going to be putting in the air early? Rashee Rice, his receiving yards, throwing the ball down the field, total receiving yards by the backs, points per game. We're breaking it all down right now on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We appreciate it. Off and running here on a Friday. If you're catching us via the podcast, remember we're live Tuesday nights at 9:30, Fridays at 10 a.m. You can be a part of the conversation. Already a number of folks in the chat room. We welcome you to be a part of that chat moving forward. Guys, let's get into what we've got here. We're going to go over and under on the offense, basically trying to define what it's going to take. Are the Chiefs going to get better? We'll give some of the background on where some of these numbers have come from the last couple of years. But I think without a doubt, the biggest question is the quarterback, right? Patrick Mahomes. Let's start with him. And Jeff, Mahomes starts. Where are you sitting right now on how much the man is going to play? We put the number at 15, so you can't push on this one. Over 15 starts, under 15 starts for Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, I have to get my senses in order because you're taking some strays in this comment section for your predictions last year. So
am I really? Oh, hang on.
They're lighting you up.
I was doing everything. Remember when Soren projected the Chiefs would run for 2,000 yards? I do. That was awful. Yes. Can you guarantee what Soren will say? Hey, let me put these up. This is the first one. Joe's, can you guarantee? I don't know. I'm feeling frisky. Yeah. And then I like this one. Can you guarantee Soren won't be saying Mahomes will throw for 5,000 yards this year? Yeah. No, you can't. You can't guarantee it.
It takes real bravery for us to do these shows.
That's right.
In the face of all this pushback.
Right. No one's keeping record here. So to answer your question, Soren, I'll start with Mahomes at 15 starts, and I'll go over. I think he will play. I think he'll be there in week one. I think this is important to him. I think the Chiefs want to make sure he's happy and accommodated, and sometimes that is to they can be foolish about it, but I think he wants to be there, and I think he will play as long as he can play. And knock on wood, he doesn't get hurt again, but I think he'll be there in week one and he'll play the whole season.
Okay, so over the 15. I mean, I think this is a tricky one because it's not just the knee. You got to plan on him getting in there and starting early, maybe missing a game. You got to plan on him. Like one of the things I think goes well for the over on this is I don't see them running away and not needing the last game, right? Like that was one of the factors you'd have. Like, well, if he misses one along the way, misses two along the way, but then they're still so good that they've got the one seed all locked up and they don't play that last game. Oh, this goes under on that one. I think that's off the board. I don't think any of us are projecting that at this point. Sam, where are you on the 15 as the over under?
I've got over as well. I mean, look, all of the individual over-unders that we're going to discuss today have an element of banking on health. or not banking on health. We just felt it was so. I mean, this is the biggest storyline of training camp that you might as well just put it on the board. And I think that they're going to do everything they can. We know they're going to do everything they can to try and start him week 1. And I think he'll probably get there. But the key is we're just saying, does he start 15 games? We're not saying, is he 100% for 15 games? Because I don't think he will be 100%. I don't think he'll be 100% in week 1. I think he'll make a determination of whether or not he feels healthy enough to play, whether or not he's at risk. That'll be a conversation with the training staff, with the coaching staff. But ultimately, I'd bet on him being more likely to play in week 1 than not. And I think once he gets out there, it'll be hard to pull him back.
Well, I think those are all good points. First of all, just to follow up on that, do you think it's going to be his call? Do you think
that's why I said I think it'll be with the training staff for sure. I think one of the most illuminating parts of that quarterback documentary a few years ago was that Jaguars game whenever he had suffered the high ankle sprain. And it wasn't his decision whether or not he missed a drive to go get some x-rays done. It was Andy Reid's call and saying, you've got to be able to protect yourself. That's the question that'll be at the forefront of whether or not the team believes he's ready for week 1 is, can he protect himself?
I guess I would ask it this way. I think I know your answer, but just to clarify, if the doctors cleared him, is there any scenario where you think he says, I'm not ready?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think that that's going to be in his mindset. No, but I also, and this is the important part as we enter training camp, as training camp starts a week from today, is Patrick Mahomes doesn't know the answer to that because he doesn't know how he's mentally going to react to the first time he sees pressure whenever he finally participates in 11 on 11 and he's got a rush actually coming at him. He doesn't know how he's mentally going to handle that. And we've heard Patrick Mahomes talk about the fact that he needs to get hit in a preseason game. He welcomes getting hit for the first time because he feels like that gets him going. He's going to have to, he's like a step shy of that still, where he's going to have to just avoid a rush and see how that feels for him for the first time. So yeah, I my answer to your question is I believe so. But I think his answer has to be, I believe so, and not a definitive yes.
Yeah, and I just think that, again, you think about when he tore his ACL and how he wanted to still play in that game, and they had to carry him out of there. I find it hard to believe that once he gets past all the checkpoints that doctors could give him, whether that's pain or swelling or whatever, that last 10% is him saying I can do it or not do it. I just find it hard to believe he's going to say I can't do it.
Yeah, I think unequivocally, if they say yes, he's going to go. I think if they say no, he's going to want to go. He's going to try to go. But I don't know. That's why I think it's so critical for the medical staff to be right about this. And because I think, and I think his mindset and always wanting to play, I think puts more pressure on them. And I think that's a good thing because everybody in the world knows he wants to play and you're going to have to hold him off the field. So that means it's all on the medical staff. Right? It's all on the medical staff to get this right as to when he's ready and when he's able to protect himself. So I do love this one from Jamar because I've heard this from a number of people. He's getting down on the dance floor at Kelce's wedding. Should be good to go. If you can dance, in Madison Square Garden, then you can certainly play quarterback. I've got the over as well. I wasn't going to go there, but when Jamar reminded me about the dancing, then I'll take it to the over. No, I was on the I was actually torn on this because I'm going to tell you right now. I know everyone's like, oh, he looked good. He was doing things. I didn't think he looked good at minicamp. I will also tell you, I thought Zach Greinke every single time he was on the mound had something wrong with him. Like he would twitch and turn and twist. I'm like, oh my God, his back. He's got a problem with his back. Or he'd adjust his jersey, like roll his shoulders. And I'd be like, oh my God, he's got a shoulder problem. So I am a chronic worrier when it comes to injury. So I will offer that up to everybody. Take anything I say about injuries with a grain of salt because I always think people are hurt. But I did not think he looked good moving around. So I didn't think he looked that close. So he's come a long way if he's ready to go. Now he's still got time to get all the way there, but he will have come a long way if he's ready to go. But I don't love it, but I think he's going to play. I think the timeline is such that they're going to clear him. And if they clear him, he will go. So I will take over. How about the passing yards, Jeff? 3,900 we have placed. For people who don't know, I'm going to round to the nearest 100. This is what he's put up over the last few years. 3,600, 3,900, 4,200, 5,300 back in 22, the first year without Tyreek Hill, 4,800, 4,700, 4,000, and 5,100. Those have been the numbers each year of his career as a starter. We posted it at 3,900. He's been over that 2 of the last 3, but last year just 3,600. And there's obviously the threat of him missing games, which pushes this number down as well. At 3,900, Jeff, over or under?
I'm going under. I just think some of the things we mentioned in terms of his health factor into this for me. I imagine they're going to be more conservative with their game planning to make sure he is not compromised or put into a difficult position as far as getting injured again. The presence of Kenneth Walker indicates they're going to run the football. They've brought back Eric Bieniemy to echo that same sentiment. And let's face it, teams are going to keep trying to take away aggressive passing, deep passing from this offense, from him, because they know that's where he wants to eat. And so I think it's going to be a lot like it was a couple of years ago, where there's going to be dink and dunk and not much opportunity to run big plays down the field for him.
Interesting. Okay. Sam, where are you on this one?
I'm going to go under. I mean, look, the safe bet is under, because there's a lot more ways he can hit the under than he can hit the over. The over requires him to be healthy and to get the passing game going again, and for them to pass the ball frequently. And you have to have all 3 of those elements. To hit the under, you only need one of those things to go sideways. So I'm taking the under mostly for that reason. As a caveat, I'm going to say that he improves his yards per attempt, though, because that to me is the number we actually should be focused on when we discuss where his passing has gone. This team's passing has gone over the last 3 years. The last 3 years, his yards per attempt are 7.1, 6.8, and 7.0. In 5 of his first 6 seasons, he was at 8.1 or above. And then it's 7.1, 6.8, 7.0. I mean, it's a precipitous drop over the last 3 years. And that's where the Chiefs really need to show progress in their passing game, is just being more efficient on a per play basis.
If they don't improve that number, they're not in the playoffs. Period.
Well, I don't know if I'd say not in the playoffs. I don't think they I think 10 years from now we're gonna look back at 2024 and say, how in the world did that team get to the Super Bowl with those numbers that they put up? And that's the one that's really going to highlight 6.8 yards per attempt for a team that made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it was, when you have Patrick Mahomes and a lot of other things right around him, you always have a chance. And that's the one that came through. That was the payback for blowing it against the Bengals in 21, right? Like that to me is like, they probably should have beaten the Bengals in 21. They probably should have beaten the Patriots in 18. Every now and then you get those years. If you're good enough, if you put yourself in position and you have a player like Patrick Mahomes, there's some years you're going to take a disappointing loss. And then there's other years. I mean, the ass kickings to the Bucs and Eagles, they got their asses kicked. But the Bengals game, they frittered it away. That season in 24 was where they stole one, right? They gave it away. This is the one they took away. It all evens out in the long run. I think it's a great point. I don't think they make the playoffs if that number is less. There is the whole concept of getting Kenneth Walker is you're going to run the ball more effectively, and that's going to open up the passing game. And if it doesn't, your receivers are dismal. Then Juju Smith-Schuster and Hollywood Brown were the 2 best receivers on your roster, and you're screwed this year, right? Like if this number does not get better, they are screwed. It will be as bad. I don't think it can be much worse than 6-11, but it'll be as bad as it was last year. Maybe the record's 7-10, maybe it's 8-9, but it'll be just as bad. By the way, you know me, stone cold over. I'm not going to call for 5,000, but if this team, if he does not throw for 4,000 yards, I don't think they're going to the playoffs this year. I don't think. I won't guarantee it. But the offensive production, you're going to run the ball. You want to run the ball. They're going to have, and we're going to get to some of the explosive plays. That's going to be a big shot in the arm for this team. But just listen, it's 2026. You have to be able to throw for 4,000 yards in 17 games. The only thing that takes this under is if he doesn't play, right? That's it. Otherwise, if he plays 17 games, if he plays 16 games and doesn't go for 4,000, there's big problems with this team. How about the touchdowns? 25.5, Jeff. Where do you go?
Under. For all the same. It's funny. We just went through the whole yardage thing and didn't even mention the receivers he's throwing to, which might be the worst part of his team right now. Well, you mentioned him in like a fantasy kind of way, like in a hey, you might have sex with Beyonce kind of way.
No,
I'm mentioning him realistically.
I do think Rashee Rice is better than Hollywood Brown and who else they lose? Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
So if he plays, I think they are better at wide receiver than a lot of what they showed last year.
Okay, well then I don't think so, and I don't see where Travis Kelce, for all his greatness, has never been a phenomenal red zone touchdown threat. Xavier Worthy is not that. Rashee Rice, if you're asking him to catch 15 touchdown passes, I'd like to see that happen, but I don't see anybody else on this team unless the running backs are going to be catching the screen passes and taking it to the house. It's just I don't see where you're going to see an abundance of touchdowns coming from this group, and maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think it falls in line with what I said about yardage. I think they're going to be being a lot more conservative offensively, and they don't have the dynamic players as they get closer to the goal line to get those touchdown passes.
By the way, there's not a number out on him. This is a number that we created because of the injury question. So the books, I don't know, there might be a book out there that has it, but I looked at a couple and they didn't have any numbers for him, and it's still early. And if he plays in a preseason game, they'll throw a number up there for sure. But so the yardage number is one that we cooked up, and this is a number that we cooked up. 22, 26, 27, 41, 37, 38, 26, 50. That's going backwards in his career. So he's, been above it 2 of the last 3 years, but just barely at 26 and 27. Last year, just 22. The injury, of course, playing a factor in this one. Sam, where do you go?
Yeah, this is going to feel a little bit like hedging my bets, and it is that to a certain extent. But I'm going over. But there's actually another reason for it, and Jeff's right. I mean, they don't have like the prototypical red zone threats, but they also don't have the prototypical red zone threat in the backfield that they had last year either. Like they ran the ball a lot at the goal line, more frequently than they had in the past, and that was because they had Kareem Hunt. And I think they're going to find out. I've mentioned the short yardage thing. That doesn't just apply on 3rd and 1 from midfield. It also applies when you're at the goal line. I think they're going to have to pass the ball more frequently inside the 5 than they did the last couple of years.
Yeah, I'm going over. I just, at some point, I think they need wide receiver help, but this is a really low number in the modern game. If he's healthy, he goes over it. If he's healthy and he doesn't go over it, they suck. I mean, I can't. Like they're not getting to the postseason unless he goes over this number. And really, even if he misses like 4 games or something, he still needs to go over this number. Like this offense needs to be more dynamic, and we'll do the defense on Tuesday. But I do see a scenario where the defense could be really good. Could be. I'm not predicting it. I could see how it would look if it got there. If it got there, then maybe you can ground and pound your way to a bunch of, 23-20 wins, but I really don't think that's the plan when it's all said and done. But I shockingly have Patrick Mahomes over on all 3. My biggest question mark was the games played. Sam goes over on starts, under on yards, over on touchdowns. Jeff, over on starts, under on the yards and touchdowns. So, the Patrick Mahomes portion, there's some optimism, I guess that's how I would describe it.
He's got him playing and playing poorly.
Basically.
I got playing with a bad supporting cast again. I put it
okay.
that way.
Okay. We'll take that. Hey, they weren't in our top 7 supporting cast. So if you missed that podcast, go check it out wherever you get your podcast. We still got Travis Kelce, Kenneth Walker. We're going to talk about next. We'll do it after you hear from our friends at GAN. Your parking lot says a lot about your business. Cracks, potholes, faded striping, and damaged concrete can create safety concerns and leave the wrong impression with customers. GAN Asphalt and Concrete helps Kansas City businesses protect their properties with asphalt paving, seal coating, crack filling, parking lot striping, concrete work, and repairs. Their experienced crews deliver quality workmanship and dependable service on every project. Whether you need routine maintenance or a complete parking lot overhaul, GAN is ready to help you. Get started today with a free estimate at GANAsphalt.com. GAN Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. If you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. All right, we continue here. Let's move to Travis Kelce, and I think this is the exact same yardage number they put on him last year, 675.5 for historical purposes. 851 last year, 823 and 24. Before that, 984. Then you got to go back to 22 when he was having the big years. 1,300, 1,100, 1,400, 1,200, 1,300. Again, last 3 years. Last year, 851, 823, 984 in 2023. Jeff, where do you go? Over, under?
Over. I mean, he's never been under 800 yards, and even though he's at an advanced age, I still feel like he's going to be Patrick Mahomes' favorite weapon, which is a big problem with his offense. And so I would imagine him to be – I don't think he's going to be 900,000 yards, but I could easily see him still hanging around 750, 800, and really being vital to whatever Mahomes wants to do when he gets into critical situations. And so it's going to be up, and I don't think that's a good thing for this offense.
Okay. Is that an old guys stick together thing right there?
Hey, he's the five. To be under, he'd have to fall off a cliff. And I just don't think he's that kind of player. I don't think he's obviously not as effective as he used to be, but to say he'd be at like 600 yards, he'd have to be hurt, I think.
The last 3 games, no Patrick Mahomes obviously contributed heavily to this. I think he was like 8 catches for 54 yards, something along those lines. Falling off a cliff, I think, is an exaggeration a little bit. It's 175 yards is all he's got to come down.
Well, it sounds like when you say 800 versus 650 or 625, it sounds like a player who's really not worth having around anymore. For what they paid him to have him around, he better be around 800 yards.
Listen. We don't need to. I wouldn't have laid that contract out there. I mean, I think if we look back, if this year is a clunker, we're going to look back and say the difference between the Chiefs and the Patriots dynasty is that the Patriots were about the winning and the Chiefs were about the crew, keeping the band together. Because I don't think there's any way Travis Kelce's playing for the New England Patriots if this is in the midst of a run with Bill Belichick. There's no way that he would have put this kind of money into a guy that's this age. And I'll just say I'm under on it just off the math of him being old. When you get hurt, you don't bounce back, and it lingers longer. So if there's some kind of injury, it's going to linger and be tough on him. I think if he plays all the games, he'll go over. I just think at some point, Father Time's going to catch up to him. So I think the math is on under. I'm rooting for the over, but I'll take under. Sam?
Yeah, I'm under as well. I mean, I think that historical evidence suggests that over – I mean, look, he's bucked the trend for a long time now, but that doesn't mean you do it forever. There's only one 37-year-old tight end who's ever reached this number.
Tony Gonzalez.
And Tony Gonzalez did it at age 37 or older tight end. And so, I mean, when that's the option, this one time it's been done or every other time. And like I said, I know Travis Kelce's bucked the trend for a long time, but you're right, Strand. I mean, one of the things he's also bucked the trend with is his health. And there's no guarantee that that's going to be the case either. And I mentioned this at the onset, but so many of these questions are, when you pick the over, you've got to basically say that this guy's going to play. Even Jeff, you picked the over. How many games does Travis Kelce need to play for you to 16, feel confident? It's like, so that's what I felt. I felt it was like 15 or 16. Yeah. And I guess maybe I'm saying he misses a couple of games.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not even just what Kelce plays. I give that stat about the last 3. It's that Mahomes plays.
Yeah.
Because it's clear that the Mahomes-Kelce thing was a part of it. Like, you'd have thought, now, again, when you get down to Chris Oladokin, I mean, all bets are kind of off. But you still would have thought, like, okay, if he's dynamic in any way, shape, or form, the kid will just dump to Kelce. Where's 87? Find 87. And it didn't click like that. So I think it's twofold. There are 2 ways that this comes under. Mahomes doesn't play or Kelce doesn't play. So that's, again, I think if they both play, he goes over.
I'm trying to figure out how you got Mahomes over 4,000 yards passing. If you're giving Kelce a huge decline there, you're really putting a lot of money on Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton here.
Cyrus Allen.
No. I love how Sam's reaction to that was perfect.
Well, you do have 3,400 yards to the receivers and running backs.
Yeah.
I will say that the part of this is, like Sam said, hedging your bet. Like, I don't think it's all going to go their way. I got to be under somewhere, right? So, I mean, I admire your consistency, Jeff. Yeah. Although this is inconsistent with so if Kelce goes over this number, you're saying there isn't what? If he goes over this, he's pushing towards 1,000 yards. There isn't another 2,300 yards out there.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, 2,900.
And he's their second best receiver right
yeah.
now. If I look at this roster, he's their second best receiver.
Okay.
And the other one just limped out of jail.
He did not limp. It was in the comments. Somebody in the comments even pointed it out here.
Okay.
Here we go. Joel said, "You see how fast he was moving to avoid the cameras while walking out of prison? The dude's knee must be great." So
I think he was trying to get to his weed dealer. I think
you're looking
moving that fast.
My favorite was the backing up. The back pedal towards the camera. That was my favorite. All right, let's go to Kenneth Walker. 925.5. His rushing totals last year, 1,027. Before that, 573, 905, had 1,050. In his rookie year, he's been over this number 2 of the 4 years in his career, and he's on a new team, Jeff.
Over. And if it's not over, this is a disastrous signing, a disastrous move, and I just think he has to be a 1,000-yard rusher for this team to be successful. He's done it twice in his career. He's always been part of a tandem, and so we'll see how much, some of these other guys, DeMarcado, Emmett Johnson, how much they factor into this, but I think they're going to feed him a lot, and he's going to have to deliver. And, I think it's as simple as that. You gave him $14 million a year. He better be better than this number.
God, it better be over.
Exactly. I don't think there's any question about it. And I think just from common sense standpoint, if he's under, this was one of the worst signings in the last 10 years.
That was Thaddeus. Oh God, he better be over.
By the way, this is the Vegas number. This isn't us.
This is the Vegas number.
Banking this number, putting this number low or anything. This is the Vegas number.
Yeah, the Vegas number is 925.5. I mean, I think Sam, is this as easy as he's healthy, he's over?
Yeah, I picked over, but I mean, if he doesn't rush for 1,000 yards this year, the Chiefs will go a decade between 1,000-yard rushers. Like, they haven't had one since Kareem Hunt did it as a rookie and led the league in 2017. So it's not the simple thing that it seems. But I do think I anticipate that this is going to be more of a bell cow situation than other people are, because there's lots of talk, including from us, about what does the rest of the backfield look like. And I think the Chiefs have put all their eggs in Kenneth Walker just being the guy and playing a lot more than what they played their number one running back over the last 5 years.
So you're over.
Yeah, I'm over.
I'm over as well. It's a sketch over, to be honest with you. I mean, because any running back can get hurt. And so really, I mean, I think you need to be playing. And he isn't exactly Mr. Games Played either. So I listen, I know the want for Chiefs fans, like, they're going to give him the ball. I'm going to go get down on the over. The running backs get dinged. They get hurt. Like, I wouldn't play this. Would you put money on it, Sam?
Well, for clarity's sake, I don't put money on anything involving any of the local teams. I do think of the ones that we have discussed or will discuss, this was the one that was the easiest for me to reach a conclusion on.
I will put money on local teams, but only to the positive side, because I don't want to be rooting against them. So I think they're not going to get there if I don't bet it. Or I think could go either way. I think this one could go either way just because of the injuries. I think I could see a scenario where he misses 6 games in the middle of the year and finishes with 750 yards. And if they can survive, and Emmett Johnson's the real deal, they get him back for a playoff run, he could still be a real positive signing. I just think there's a lot that can go wrong, but I'm still going to go over because I do agree with you. If they gave him a bunch of money to run him the way they ran Isaiah Pacheco, then the direction on this team, the arrow is pointing down. And what are you doing? Because you could have had running backs of similar production for $2.5 million a year before.
Well, and the offensive line, the investments they made in that offensive line, it needs to work for that same reason.
If he plays 14 games, he needs like 65 yards per game. That's if he misses 3 games. And so that's why I agree with you. I mean, I've said it, I've repeated it, like, you're banking on health here, but man, if he plays 14 games, even if he misses 3, I still think it'd be disappointing if he didn't reach 925.
How about the explosive rushes? We filtered out the quarterback scrambles. We're putting this number at 39.5. So just to be clear, an explosive rush is 10 yards or more. The Chiefs in 25 had 26 of them. In 24, they had 21 of them. In 23, they had 29 of them. The league average has been 40. So we're putting this at 39.5. Sam, this is your baby. You want to lead us on this one on what you've got here for the explosive rushes without quarterback scrambles, 39.5, over or under?
Yeah, I've got over. I mean, to be clear, those last 3 years they've ranked 30th, 32nd, and 28th.
Yeah.
So like this seems like a big jump, but we're just projecting them to whether or not they can jump to the middle of the pack, because like you said, 40 was like 16th, 17th, and 18th tie last year. I just think this offense was made last year for this to be the case. They just didn't have the dudes who could get it done. This requires that you beat some people in the open field. And Kenneth Walker led the NFL in avoided tackle rate last year at 34.4%. There were 49 running backs who qualified for that stat, avoided tackle percentage. Isaiah Pacheco ranked 48th, and Kareem Hunt ranked 44th. Chuba Hubbard was the only guy behind Isaiah Pacheco last year. Like, this just, like I said, requires that you can make somebody miss. And for whatever you think of Kenneth Walker, in the open field is his strength. Like, he can make some people miss in the open field. So that's why I think they get there.
Okay. Jeff?
I'm going over too. A lot of the same rationale that this is what Kenneth Walker is known for doing. He brings the speed, the explosiveness. And I do believe, going back to a comment I made about the offensive line, that they are going to be more geared to make that happen. And this has never been an offensive line since Mahomes has been here that's been built around trying to create a more explosive run game. And I just think that this is why you paid him to be here, to open up your offense. It's not going to be the explosive passing that does it. It's going to be the explosive running. And as long as he stays healthy, knock on wood, he should help them get to this number. And I think DeMarcado and Emmett Johnson, Rashard Smith, some of the other guys too should benefit from that as well.
I think it's possible that they've got 3 running backs that are better than anyone they had on the roster last year. I mean, so I do think that you have a safety net on this one, that even if Kenneth Walker goes down, I think Emmett Johnson can get some of those. I think DeMarcado can get some of those. So I think, I can even see some DeMarcado on a draw type of thing. I think it's certainly a question on when it comes to Kenneth Walker, but I think there's a safety net that's there for him, that where he can get it, or safety net for the Chiefs where they can get it because of the other backs. First down pass percentage, Sam, 9.5. By the way, over equals worse. So we're doing this by ranking, right? The first down pass percentage ranking.
This is just how frequently you pass the ball on as opposed to running the ball on first down. Yeah.
Right. And they last few years, 5th, 9th, 8th, 4th, 6th, 10th, 5th. We've put it at 9.5 because we think that there is a want to run the ball, right? That's a want to run the ball. So where do you go? Do you go over or under? Again, over would be that they rank higher number wise. The number would be higher. So you're throwing it
less.
Yeah,
this was the hardest one, to be honest, because I mean, man, you are putting your faith in that the things that they said or the things that they will do. But I am going to go over. I think that they're going to end up in that like 10 to 12 range. And so, I mean, that's slightly higher than 9.5. But I mean, you mentioned the history, Soren. Only every single year of Patrick Mahomes, they have been one of the top 10 teams in how frequently they pass the ball on first down. And I think a lot of people are going to look at just how many carries Kenneth Walker gets compared to how many carries Isaiah Pacheco gets, how many carries the Chiefs have in general versus how many that they had as a backfield a year ago. And there'd be a couple issues with that. One, I think the fact that Patrick Mahomes carried the ball a lot last year, and, I don't think he's going to carry the ball as much this year. Two, you have to look at how many plays that they even run this year. If they're more explosive, they might not have to run as many plays on a drive. They led the league and plays per drive last year. I think, what's funny is they have lowered their percentage over the last 2 years. When you actually just look at their percentage, they're under 50%. They've run the ball more than they passed it. But the league's trended this way, and they haven't trended as quickly as the rest of the league has. And so I don't know what the rest of the league does this year. And I actually wonder if Jeff could speak to that, a part of his point of does the rest of the league continue to do this? Or is this a year where maybe it reverts back a little bit, and therefore if the Chiefs run the ball a little bit more, their ranking really is drastically different?
Where are you, Jeff?
I'm going over. I think they will be throwing it less on first down. But I think that if you want to be if you want to establish a run game, you have to establish it early in a possession, in a drive. And so that to me will be a huge change for them. But I look at how the obviously the Rams have played, how the Bills have played, some of these teams that have electric quarterbacks, and that's what they do. We're coming out, we're handing the ball off, and we're going to set it up, and we're going to go from there. And the other factor in this too is it's so much this team is going to be dependent on scheme, because I think this last year was the first year they probably realized that we just can't throw it to guys and have them make big plays for us. If we're throwing the ball out to Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy or Travis Kelce, like, they're not taking it 70, 80 yards. And so that, to me, you have to set them up now. You have to set them up by running the football and making teams respect your offensive line. And so to me, that means you got to be more committed to doing things earlier in downs, earlier in series.
Can I just, sorry to cut in here, Soren, but I want to point out what Jeff said there. So when you look across the league, let's see here, because I've got the numbers up here. The Cardinals passed the ball 58.3% of the time. The Bengals were at 56.9%, but there's only 4 teams that were above 50%. Cardinals, Bengals, Raiders, Lions, and then, the Chiefs are 5th.
And by the way, the
Titans
Lions are surprising.
6th. Yeah, the Titans are 6th. Those are 6 non-playoff teams that pass the ball a ton on first. And I think part of that is because you're trailing late in the game, you're passing every down and the fourth quarter. But there's only 2 teams that pass the ball less than 40% of the time on first down. The Bills are at 35% last year.
Yep.
They ran the ball on 65% of their first downs last year. I think that would surprise a lot of people who maybe aren't paying as close attention. You say, "Oh, Josh Allen, the Bills are always, passing the ball. They're using the court." No, they everything they do is predicated on establishing the run first.
I think the league trend is a good point, because we saw blocking tight ends going in the second and third round. So it looks like offenses were trending more towards, okay, we all got to run the ball more. Defenses, D tackles were going pretty high in this past draft. So it looks like people are saying we got to stop the run. So while I think you can see where the trend is going, I don't think, you can stop a freight train. It's already rolling down the tracks. They've been making personnel decisions trending that direction for the last couple of years, and I don't think the teams can just jerk the wheel. And I think the Chiefs are late to the party, but I think they are going to join the party. I'll go over. I think they will throw it less this year, and I think that ranking continues to, or the quantity of runs goes up for the Kansas City Chiefs. We still want to get into Rashee Rice's receiving yards, throwing the ball down the field, the running backs catching the ball out of the backfield. We'll do that after you hear from our friends at Italian Delight. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. If your property needs asphalt or concrete work, Gann Asphalt and Concrete is ready to help you. From parking lots and drive lanes to sidewalks, curbs, patching, seal coating, crack filling, and repairs. Their experienced crews handle projects of all sizes throughout the entire Kansas City metro. Whether you're fixing problem areas or planning a larger paving project, Gann focuses on quality workmanship and dependable service from start to finish. No matter what shape your pavement is in today, they can help improve it. Request a free estimate and learn more at GannAsphalt.com. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lots. All right, let's talk about Rashee Rice and where he's going to be, his receiving yards. And what do we have that number at? I blanked.
We had the Vegas number was 999 and a half. So it's just
999 and a half. Yeah, so is he going to make 1,000 yards or not? $9.99.5 is the number. Jeff, where do you go?
Ooh, I'm going under. I'm just not a Rashee Rice fan. I think I hear all the projected stats and what he'd do if he was healthy for a full season and if he hadn't had the knee injury or the suspension. I just think he's not a top 20 receiver in this league. And again, I go back to, I think a lot of this offense is going to be built around Kenneth Walker. I think Travis Kelce is going to get more passes than he probably needs to. And they're not going to be as explosive. And so I think he'll be close. I think he'll be a 900-yard receiver, but I just don't think he's going to crack 1,000.
Injuries. If you think he's going to struggle to get to 1,000, then there's the injury card out there, and he could do something stupid and get suspended as well. There's all kinds of reasons to take the under. I don't think anybody taking the under is doing anything dumb at all. I think that's probably where the math is. Sam, where do you come?
I go under. Look, over the last 17 games, if you cut out that Chargers game where he gets hurt early in the game, he's at 81 yards per game. So there's a clear argument for him getting to 1,000-yard season. That means he needs about 12 and a half games to get there if he's at 81 yards per game. But if you think they pass it less, which we all three just said that they did, I think you have to factor that in. And maybe now, and the quarterback, isn't, I said at the onset, I don't think he's 100%. So maybe you're looking at like 13 and a half games. So that's how I did the math and said, do I think he plays 13 and a half games this year? He's played 12 of the last 37. So why am I going to bank that he's going to play 13 out of 17 when he's played 12 out of 37? He's already coming off of surgery this offseason. It's not just about,
great point.
The off the field troubles. He's coming off surgery this offseason. And so I just think there's too many ways for him to get under, and a lot has to go right for him to get over.
Well, I'm going over. I agree with everything you said. I agree with. Listen, I'm not.
You have to, Soren. I mean, you went under for Kelce and over for Mahomes.
That's
Rashee Rice better get to 1,000.
1,500. Soren's 1,500, 18 touchdowns.
If you went under here, we were going to ask, who is getting the receiving?
I could just, see, that's one of the things, I will say from when you bet prop bets, if you set out with this is what I think the season's going to be, and I line all my prop bets up based upon that, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you that right now. Yeah, so you do have to hedge your bets, and there will be things that we don't see. Cyrus Allen, I joked about, but I do think he's got a chance to be like an Albert Wilson type for this offense, but that's not going to be enough to get Patrick Mahomes to 4,000. It's going to have to be either Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy that emerge as a big-time player. And Rashee Rice get back to being a more productive player. I'm going to go over from this. 1, contract year. 2, the surgery part's a great point, and I'm no doctor, and I don't know how much it did or didn't affect his knee, but a lot of guys have cleanup type things along the way, and this, kind of a follow-up to what he had the year before. That is the biggest concern for me, because I think he is tough, almost too tough for his own good. There's sometimes he should just get down where he's taking hits with no light at the end of the tunnel of getting any more yards. And so that means he's susceptible to injuries, but he wants to get paid. And I think that's going to drive him. And there is no Hollywood Brown and there is no Juju Smith-Schuster. So part of the path to getting to him has been cleared. I think he's got to be the number one target for this team. I think with Travis Kelce coming back even more, that Patrick Mahomes looks even more for Rashee Rice. I think the running game opens it up, gives him some more lanes, gets some linebackers stepping up towards some play action, which opens up some of the slants that he runs well. I will take Rashee Rice to go over 999. I'd see something like 1,200. I don't see 1,600 in the breakout, and we're talking about him being a number one wideout. But I think Rashee Rice is the number one target, so I think he goes over this number.
Can I also point out the Chiefs have to have this happen too, because since Tyreek Hill, they have not had a 1,000-yard wide receiver. But the year after they traded Tyreek Hill, when they were number one in the league in yards and number one in points, Juju Smith-Schuster was at 950, and Travis Kelce was at 1350 that year. Travis Kelce hasn't been a 1,000-yard receiver in the last 3 years, and their offense is ranked 15th, and 21st in points. I think when you did this exercise, it shows you've got to have a number one weapon in this offense. And that, Travis Kelce has been their number one weapon more by default these last 3 years, as opposed to when he was in his prime. And it was just because he was just that freaking good.
Yeah. And also Rashee Rice has got to prove he can get open against man coverage. And if he does become a more productive player, he's going to see more coverage, more attention. And so there's a lot of things that get in the way of him making that leap to 1,000-yard receiver.
Well, I guess we'll see at the end of the year, won't we, Jeff?
That's right. Okay, Mr. 5,000.
Patrick Mahomes downfield completions of 20-plus air yards. So getting downfield. So the ball has to travel in the air 20 yards down the field, right? Throwing it 7 yards down the field, but 25 yards to the sideline doesn't count. 20 yards down the field from the line of scrimmage. The number is 20.5, just to give you what it has been the last 5 years. 21 last year, 12 in 24, 18 in 23, had 28 in 22, and right to the 5,000-yard season. 31 in 21. That was the last year with Tyreek Hill on the team. We're putting this at 20.5. Pretty lofty number there. He's been over at 3 of the last 5, just barely last year when they were just bombing it a number of times. Sam, we'll let you lead. This is your baby on this one. What do you think?
I'm going to pick over, and I think this is actually where having an effective run game and a more frequent usage of the run game should help the most, is because like their play action didn't work a lot last year. And if you want to bring the safeties down, it's not about throwing the ball and dinking and dunking. It's about having an effective running game that prompts some attention to open some things up. So, by the way, one last thing about this, a lot of this downfield stuff is on him because he had some guys open last year that he missed Xavier Worthy several times last year. And I think if you're looking at where Patrick Mahomes needs to improve most, his downfield throws have to be more accurate than they were a year ago.
Okay. Jeff, where do you go?
I'm going under, and this correlates to his passing yards in general. I think that there will be probably more opportunities based off the run game if it's clicking. But I just, again, who you're throwing to down the field. Tyquan Thornton's probably your best option. Xavier Worthy is in that mix, but I don't see Travis Kelce being that kind of player, and I don't see Rashee Rice being that kind of player. And so the amount of options he has to go down the field, I don't see being that multiple. And I also feel as if, again, it's sometimes Sam just mentioned a good point about the connection Mahomes had with some of these balls down the field. When you're coming off an injury like this, like he may rush some throws. He may not have the same amount of timing. His body may not be in the kind of rhythm that you would be in normally to have that kind of touch on the football. And so I'm expecting probably more inaccuracy on downfield throws because of that. And again, he's never played in this kind of offense where you're talking about a lot of play action passing. There's going to be an adjustment period.
That's interesting. I think there will be an adjustment period, but I think the play action with an effective running back will be quite effective for this team. And so I think he will be pleasantly surprised that he's only got one real option and it's over the top, but it's there because the safeties are walking up and he can even just lead. You know, some of those deep balls, part of the problem is that he's having to thread a needle of a safety and a corner trailing and a safety coming over because they're all on the back pedal. They're all back there. I think he'll get some times where the safeties are walking up towards the line or they're biting on the play fake, and he's got Xavier Worthy open, and he can just go ahead and throw it inside and let Xavier Worthy curve to it and not have to just put it right on his hands with a perfect strike. I mean, that's, you know, when you can get somebody open, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I think they've got a chance to get more guys open downfield in this offense. So I will go over. I think the battery was in backwards. They wanted to go deep last year, was what they said, but they really were just trying to set up their underneath crap. I think this time they're going to pound the rock and they can get the ball over the field. I should have looked this up, but you know, the Marty Schottenheimer passing offense was nothing exotic, but there were a lot of over the top plays because you had to come up and defend Christian Okoye and Barry Word and, you know, but you know, good, just decent wideouts were getting big plays over the top. And I think you'll see some more of that, and Patrick Mahomes will get a kiss there. The running backs catching the football. The last few years, last year, 425 yards receiving for the running backs. 603 before that, 657, 826, 824, 584, and 648. We have put the number at 650. They've been under that 4 of those years. They've been under that 4 of the last 7, but they've been as high as 826 or 824. So 650, Jeff, where do you go on the running back receiving yards?
I'm going over, and I know that Kenneth Walker is, and I think he's on our board too. Is he on our board for that?
No, it's just the note is that if you wanted to play him over under 299.5 is his personal number for receiving yards.
Yeah, and so I don't think he's going to be a prolific receiver in his offense because his career hasn't suggested that, but I do believe Emmett Johnson is here for this reason. DeMarcado's got some potential there. Obviously, Rashee Smith has been a receiver, and there's been a lot of hope that he could become a better weapon out of the backfield. So, and there's a need for Mahomes to get rid of the ball fast. And so I think that this is the most, we talk about throwing the football down the field. This has been one of the most underrated weaknesses in this offense the last few years is not getting more passing yards out of the backfield. And so I think they're going to make the enemy, especially here, they're going to make a more of an effort to get the ball into the hands of these players and have them do something with it, not just rely on just chucking it down the field and finding big plays there.
Yeah. Okay. Sam, where do you go?
I'm going under. 650 is just, it's a really high number. And I agree with Jeff that I think this will improve. I think that'll be a bigger point of emphasis. And I really agree with his point that this has been missing from their offense since the days of Jerick McKinnon and Darrell Williams and Damian Williams, the guys who had this in their game. And it was probably the best part of the game for those running backs. Like, they haven't had that guy for the past couple of seasons. So I think this will improve, but I can't get to 650 on it.
Jeff, where were you? Just to be,
I was over.
I'm over too. Last year, Rashee Smith 172 led the running backs in receiving yards. 143 from Kareem Hunt, 101 from Isaiah Pacheco, Clyde Edwards-Helaire 9. Don't forget those 9 yards from Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That was 10% of them.
Yeah.
I forgot he was there. Forget the numbers. He was actually here.
He was. Yeah. They brought him back for like a quick cup of coffee.
Yeah. That's right.
By the way, Kenneth Walker's numbers are 282, 299, 259, and 165 over his 4 years.
I think is a great point. Like we said, 299.5. They're putting a number up there that he's never reached in his career because they think that he's going to be a part of the equation. So they've baked something into, that they think Andy Reid will get more of them catching the football. But I do like, I think the Emmett Johnson and the DeMarcado part are an underrated part of this equation. I don't think Kenneth Walker is going for 500-600. I think the number is going to be down. I think 300 is probably right around where he's going to be. But I do think they use multiple backs. I think, DeMarcado maybe 300 on his own. And so I do think they get there. I'll take the over on this one. All right, last one, points per game, team ranking. We've got it at 11.5, where they've ranked in points per game going backwards. In 25, it was 21st, 15th, 1st, 4th, 6th, 5th, 1st. So there were the days when the offense was flying high from 18 to 22, 1st, 5th, 6th, 4th, 1st. Then in 23, started slowing down, 15th, and last year with the injury to Patrick Mahomes bottoming out at 21. So the last 3 years, they've been worse than the 11.5. Over is worse in this case. Jeff, where do you go as far as points per game? Do they get it going again? Scoring? Is they going to push towards and maybe even be a top 10 scoring offense? Yes or no?
They will be over. I think that they will probably be somewhere between 15, probably 13 and 15 with this group. I don't see where, and I put that more on the supporting cast, on the talent. Again, there's a lot of really good offenses out there. And we just did a whole podcast on supporting cast, and the Chiefs didn't come close to being in the top half of the groups we were talking about. I think you might have had them, Soren, the highest. Imagine that. But I think
even so, it's like 10th or something like that. I don't think you had them like just.
Yeah. And so I started thinking about even teams like that may not make the playoffs, like Dallas, for example, what they have to offer offensively is just from the Bills, the Ravens to the Lions, the Eagles. Like, there's so many teams out there with so many dynamic players that I just don't see where this team, even with all the greatness of Patrick Mahomes and all the accolades that Andy Reid's accomplished, is going to push up into the top 10 that quickly. I think it's going to take a few more acquisitions to make that happen.
Okay. Sam?
I've got them being better this year, so I've got the under, and but I think it's marginally so. I guess I think it's more likely they're in that like 9 to 11 range than they are that 12 to 15. But like I said, slightly so. I think there's a couple factors in that. I think, I've predicted them to be more explosive when the running game this year than they were, and having, maybe slightly more of those chunk plays in the passing game. And so therefore you're moving the ball more quickly. I think they'll have more drives this game. They had the fewest drives in the NFL by a lot last year, which hurts your points per game. I also think this defense isn't going to be as good. And I think they're going to be in a decent amount of those fourth quarter situations where they need to score. And, they need to score quickly too. So I think it's, as much as you want to look at the efficiency of the offense, I think you also have to look at the other mitigating factors that contribute to something like this.
This is by far the hardest one for me to figure out.
I thought it was tough too.
Yeah, it's by far the hardest one because I think that's right where they are. I mean, I think Kenneth Walker is going to make a big difference, but a big difference, we're coming from 21st, and they were 21st. I know Andy Reid, likes to call them a top 10 offense. And I think at one point they were a top 10 offense, but
I think they were like 16th maybe when Mahomes went down. I mean, it's not. They were average. They were where they were the previous 2 years when Mahomes was hurt.
Yeah, they had one nice stretch where they looked like, okay, they're finding their rhythm. So I do think there's something there, but I mean, to get into the top 10, which is basically what you have to do to make this happen. Again, you don't have to get to 1 or 2, but to get to 7, 8, 9, 10 range, you're counting on Kenneth Walker opening things up for the passing game. You're counting on Rashee Rice being there. Travis Kelce not falling off a cliff. Offensive line, I think, probably taking a bit of a step forward. Mahomes being healthy. There's like just so many ways that this one breaks down. But
and another team is falling apart too, by the way, right? Because the Bengals and the Ravens lost their quarterbacks for periods of time last year, right?
Yeah. Yes.
High-scoring teams.
But I also think, Matt Stafford, there was questions whether or not he was even going to play. I mean, I think there are some other, there's always those factors that are out there for teams. I am going to look, where did you pick Andy Reid, Jeff, on your coach rankings?
2.
Sam, where did you pick him?
I think I still had him 1. I
think you had him 2. I thought we all had McVay 1.
I think I had Andy Reid 1.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'll look that up here. My point to that is, did we pick it because it's like, okay, we have to give it to him on the Career Achievement Award because that wasn't the purpose of that exercise, or did we pick it because we really think that's where it ought to be, right? Like if he's really the number 2 head coach, which I put him at number 2, and Sam, you are right, you had Andy Reid number 1. I put him at number 2. If we really think he's number 1 or number 2, then he should figure something out here. And now he's got a top shelf running back. I'm going to go under. I don't love it. I wouldn't bet it, but I'm going to go under, which means that they will be ranked better than 11.5. But it's by far the hardest one.
I think it was. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I would just say, like, I was going to ask you, what odds would you put top 5 at?
Yeah, I think that would be even more difficult for the reasons I mentioned. And look, there's someone in the comment who says I'm wrong about where they were when Mahomes started. We're talking about points per game. We're not talking about DVOA. That's part of my point, and why it's difficult to get here is because on a per play basis, they have a high success rate, but they don't hit as many explosives. And the explosives, and me predicting that they're going to have more of these 20+ air yard completions and that Kenneth Walker is going to be more explosive, is why I think they will average more points per game, because that in effect will have more drives per game. Like they're dead last. They were last in drives and by a large margin last year, like a historically low number of drives per game. That's what makes it difficult for points per game, and that's why DVOA numbers show them to be a much better offense than points per game. It's why I quote DVOA numbers all the time.
You're the king of it.
Yeah, I look at points per game like all the time, and
points per play,
the success rate, the EPA. That's the reason, is because it cuts out all the other noise that factors into something like a points per game stat. And it's also why I didn't think the defense was as good last year as a lot of other people did, because when you look at it from points per game, well, their defense doesn't face as many drives as other teams are either. So they should be a top 10 scoring defense when you're facing the fewest drives in the league.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time. Defense gets better sitting on the bench, right? Like if they're sitting there, their statistics are getting better. And the Chiefs grinding did cover up the defense a lot, especially 2 years ago when they had all those close games and the Chiefs were just, they're amazing. What's amazing about them is their yards per play are so low, but so consistent. They need 3 downs to get a first down, but every 3 downs they get a first down. And that's how it's been. And I think that has to change here. And we may see, like when we get to our defensive numbers, if this offense is going to be better, then it may, shine a light on a defense that wasn't as good and lost all its secondary people, which may be a real market. Like the defense, we may be looking at going, what happened to the defense while those young cornerbacks get up to speed? But we'll do that with our next podcast. We're going to do the defensive over and unders with our next one. We want to thank our great sponsors. You can support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Your parking lot's your first impression customers get from your business. Protect your property with Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Parking lot repairs, resurfacing, seal coating, striping, concrete work. Their experienced crews handle it all. Learn more at GannAsphalt.com. And our friends at Italian Delight, the first to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. Don't forget their daily lunch special starting at under $10, just 3 miles east of Kansas Speedway, 8145 State Ave. Online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on